Hey everybody. Hi, it's Verona from Ancestral Voices. It's good to be back on YouTube. It's been a while. So just let me know if everything's all okay, if you can hear me, if everything's going fine. And if so, then I can go ahead and continue with today's conversation. So today we're doing a live and it's just basically a free flowing conversation. I'm here open to talk about whatever different topics come up. Hopefully, people will be willing to join me in the studio as well and participate in the conversation. I'll also be taking any questions that you put through in the comment section. So, what I wanted to also just do is just check in with everybody to find out how everyone's doing. The last time I put a video out online, I was talking about my experiences with this with the eclipse season, and it's definitely been an intense one. So I would love to hear other people's stories and reflections, and just to have an open debate about it, because obviously it impacts everyone in different ways. So part of this conversation today is going to be, just as I said, free flowing, but also showing a preview of the Ancestral Voices film sequel, Spirit is Eternal. So that will be later throughout the actual program. But for now, I just wanted to kind of really tap in and check in to see how everyone's doing. As I mentioned, I put a video out, I think, about a week ago. And I just want to say a massive thank you to all the people who were generally just concerned about me and just wishing me well wishes. I appreciate it. I genuinely do. But I can honestly say I didn't put that video out for like sympathy or anything like that. I put that video out because I just wanted to bring transparency to the fact that no matter how long you've been on your spiritual journey for, there's always trials and tribulations. It's always like a process that it continuously changes. So, as far as I'm concerned, spiritual awareness and spiritual tools give you the tools to actually navigate challenging times, but not to eradicate them completely. So, yes, I have to admit that my eclipse season has been a roller coaster, to say the least. um in that video I did mention that it just felt like there were a lot of things happening simultaneously in my life that felt like I was being challenged, that I was being really kind of pushed to test my own boundaries, to kind of see how strong I am in my own self, in my own core. So this is what I really want to kind of get into with people to start off, and then we can flow from there. But the reason why I also put that video out is because I feel that there's a lot of people who struggle with certain things. And I think, particularly, people who are emotionally sensitive are very aware of certain changes that happen in the world, and not just in this physical world, but just like celestially as well. So I'm not an astrologer. I always make a point of saying I am not an astrologer, but there are certain things that I will generally pick up on if there's certain shifts, whether like Mercury retrograde and things like that. Now I can tell, like, no one needs to tell me, like there's a something that I feel, like I start to feel the need to retreat. Um, Greetings, Brother Imani. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Thank you. Feel free to also jump in the conversation. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd also love to know how your eclipse season has been for you. Please join in. But yes, what I was saying is that there's if you're emotionally sensitive, there's certain things that you generally can start to pick up on, and it can make you feel a bit emotional. And one of the things that I started to realize is I was starting to internalize it too much and thinking, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I kind of being like this? Whereas this is the thing, we have to realize that we are here as spiritual beings having a human experience. And so when we have these human experiences, we shouldn't be just be there judging it and then making ourselves feel bad because we're actually going through these process of emotions. So even, for myself, as I was going through this, I had to kind of hold a mirror up to myself and say, why are you being overly critical to yourself. Where does this come from? This idea that everything's supposed to be love and light and easy, and that's not how it is. That's not real spirituality. Spirituality is going through an array of emotions, and that is completely normal. So if anyone else that out there listening and what I'm saying resonates, and you have found the last few weeks of your life challenging, please know that you're not alone. There are many of us going through these fluctuations right now. I would say be gentle with yourself, allow yourself to feel everything that comes up, but not to internalize it. So also give thanks, Gleb. Welcome. Oh, from Latvia. Much love. Bless up. And give thanks, Eric Hamabat, Alafia family. Much love for you and all your support, Eric. We truly appreciate you. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put out this studio link. So if anyone wants to actually join me in the studio, you're more than welcome. I'm taking all questions today. So whatever you have, any questions you want to go for, do it. Ask me now. Take opportunity while it's here. It can be anything. So greetings. So Nature Man says, greetings, sister. Been changing upward for me. Yes, Aries energy, moving me in the direction I ask and give in my eclipse meditation. Indeed. Give thanks, Nature Man. That's what I've been finding helpful for me too. Personally, my kind of ideal meditation is literally going out and sitting with the trees in my local park. So I find a tree, I sit under the tree, and it's like that grounds me, that makes me feel at peace. And unfortunately, in the UK at the moment, it's just only exception for the last few days. Only now it's kind of been sunny, but before it's just been cold and a lot of rainy days. So I felt like I haven't really had that chance to get out as much as I would like to. And I definitely feel the impact of that. So I'm really looking forward to more hot weather and sunny days because I need it. that grounding is so necessary. So give thanks. I'd also, anyone wants to share their tips, their techniques, what they've been using to go through eclipse season, please let me know. Definitely would like to get into some of that. King Shabib Music says, peace and blessings from the Caribbean. A lot of shadow work being done now. This is what the eclipse was out. Indeed, indeed. The shadow work is intense, and that is always an ongoing thing. And that's what I said in my last video that I put out, is that a lot of issues from the past that I personally thought I had already cleared started coming up for me. So it just goes to show that there's always work that we need to do to kind of flush out all those old aspects of ourselves and that healing, but allowing it to also take place. And even for me personally, it felt like a lot of these things were coming up for me to kind of release them once and for all. So definitely that resonates. So thank you for sharing that. And happy Sunday to you too, to me. So nice one. Thank you. And time to raise the vibration by eating alkaline and earthly foods. I must say that I do believe is a massive help. I think also drinking lots of water and just kind of keeping our vessels as clear as possible also helps. So I appreciate that. Much love for sending in your tips and techniques. If anyone else wants to send in their strategies or what they've been using to get through this particular time, please let me know. As well as if you want to ask any other questions, go ahead and do so. Now, another thing that also came up for me during, in fact, I'll just speak generally from the beginning. Personally, I feel like 2024 has been a strange year already. Like, I could start to feel this from, if I'm actually being honest, from the previous eclipse. So we're talking about September. I could feel like a shift in energy, and it was like this need to kind of slow down and withdraw. So I thought, okay, we're approaching autumn time, going from autumn to winter. I thought, okay, that's a natural thing. But what I've noticed is, even as this 2024 started, it's still kind of been this slow motion. It doesn't feel like things are progressing. So obviously we just had the recent spring eclipse. So not the spring eclipse, the equinox. So I thought, all right, fine. We're now entering this season of rebirth, but it still feels a bit slow to me. So I'd love to know if anyone has any feedback or opinions on that. That is just my personal feeling, but I would love to hear your thoughts as well. King Shabib says, lots of meditation and rest is also important. I also do music, uplifting vibrational music. Nice one. I would love to hear what kind of music you do. So that is beautiful. But I definitely, obviously, we mentioned meditation already. Rest, I would say, is massive. And I even put a post out about that recently as well, just saying that I don't know what it is, but definitely since this kind of eclipse season, there is this really heavy, like, feeling of exhaustion to the point where you can go to bed, sleep your normal hours, and wake up the next day and still feel like, did I sleep? Like, it's just, and it's an unexplainable tiredness. It's, as I said, exhausted is the only word I could really think to describe how it feels. And another thing I would say is, when you have when you go to bed at night and you're like dreaming, you're astral traveling and all that stuff, that can also make you feel that exhausted feeling when you wake up. So my guess is that's what's been going on. It just feels like there's some heavy work that's been happening at the nighttime. So for everyone, I would say if you are feeling exhausted, allow yourself to rest. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't start calling yourself lazy. I think that collectively we're really being asked to kind of reevaluate how we operate in this physical reality. And it's like we're being called to align with ourselves, to start listening to our bodies, to start tuning inwards more rather than outwards. Which also goes on to my next point, which I'll come into soon. But let me just go through some of these comments. So Gleb says, winter in my country is not a joke so far this year. I feel even more that I need to move somewhere I could feel irie for the whole time. I agree with you. I cannot deal with this cold weather anymore. I feel like it's just, it can't be my reality anymore. So TC Norton says, I've been exhausted for the past few days. Time has been going extremely slow. Interesting. I haven't noticed the time thing. I will start being more mindful of that, but the exhaustion definitely. So thank you for your contribution. Okay, this eclipse didn't happen in over 300 years, and we were blessed by the ancestors to experience this energy. We give thanks. All right. CJ says, my coping mechanism has been isolation, finding other people's energy quite dense right now. I agree. I agree with you. I agree. And what's interesting, I would say, for me is all of everything that I've been personally picking up on happened even from before the eclipse. There's something distinctly different energetically wise. And I would say this has been quite obvious from late 2023. I remember getting to about December of last year and just feeling so exhausted. I was like, I don't want to be online. I don't want to be around people. And then I kind of hibernated for the winter. And then January came and I thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to go online a bit more. But even then I was like, I have nothing to say. I don't feel creative. I don't feel inspired. I don't really want to be around like that. Then March came and I'm like, I'm still on the same vibe. What's going on? So I don't know. It's just a very, very strange kind of as you said, isolation has been the kind of way to kind of deal with everything. And I feel like if you're being called to isolate, which many of us are, I'd say go with that. Isolate, rest, really focus on yourself. I believe it was King Shabib said, who, doing the shadow work, doing the meditation. I truly believe that right now, the focus is on us working on our inner selves rather than focusing on everything outside. And I would go as far as to say that's why our external reality is doing so much to try and get us engaged, because it's to take the focus away from our internal selves where all true change and all true power really exists. Okay, so Nature Man says Chiron was there with Aries and Mercury retro. So that week before eclipse, it was rocky, but I acknowledge it to Chiron during eclipse and forward to what I wanted that energy to change and let go. Indeed, indeed, nature man. So, as I said at the top of the show, I'm not an astrologer, but I am aware of what you're talking about. And yes, indeed, it was a great time to let go of a lot of old energies and release. And I think even part of that could be why we are feeling this kind of tired, exhausted feeling, because as we know, everything takes place in a spiritual realm first before it happens physically. So I feel that a lot of what we've gone through over the last few weeks was like a spiritual thing, which I believe now we will start seeing it play out in our physical realities. So, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put the live link out. Please, someone join me in the studio. If you ask me a question, share your experiences. I'm not going to be here talking by myself the whole time. So, I generally want you to come in. If you have any questions, you know, even anything, if you had a dream and you want me to kind of put my insight on it, I'm happy to do that too. And that's another thing, actually. Has anyone noticed that their dreamscape has become a lot more lively or vivid over these last few weeks? I'd be really curious to hear that too. So, what I'll do in around 15 minutes or so, I'll probably put on the film clip. But for now, I'd love to get some more conversation and feedback. So, feel free to join in and talk to me. So, Gleb says, I spent the whole of January in Egypt. Amazing. I feel like I need to travel even more now. The whole 2024 is heavy, so there's a lot to let go. I agree. I agree. And thanks for sharing, Gleb. And it's interesting because this whole letting go thing keeps coming up. And that is something that I've been really consciously aware of. And I feel like the letting go is our own personal baggage and, our own shadows, our own issues, our own things that we haven't dealt with from the past. But I think there's also a lot to do with even letting go of this kind of physical construct of the world that we've kind of internalized and kind of been fixated on all these years. I feel that as it's starting to change and shift, and we can see our outer reality is changing every day, things people were talking about behind closed doors 20, 30 years ago are now like mainstream news. So we can clearly see something has shifted. But I think as this shift is happening, it's also for us to kind of let go of these old paradigms so we can start to create something new. All right, so TC says that lots of water dreams references for me. Ah, interesting, TC Norton. So I know quite a few people have been saying they've had dreams of floods and things like that, which are, when we look around the world, these things have been happening. When we look at things such as floods, for example, it's associated with water representing, which is commonly represented as like divine feminine energies as well. So if you want to, feel free to share more information of your dream, and I would love to be able to break it down and give more of an insight into that. But I have been talking about water for a while now, and I would definitely say we are clearly in that kind of divine feminine energy. I've got an article on our website about it. I think it's called Primordial Waters, the Divine Feminine Resurgence, or something like that. I called it. And that also speaks about water from the lens of African cosmologies. And I give examples of the different themes that come up and how I can see those themes being played out in our society today. And I also correlate this divine feminine energy with what is known as the age of Aquarius as well. So you may find that of interest, but feel free to send more information or join me in the studio to talk about your dream, because I love to do that as well. So feel free to do that. Okay, so Nature Man says March, it was dreams and many nightmares, all during the lunar eclipse energy as it was close to eclipse. Interesting. Interesting. So once again, if you're happy to share your dreams, feel free to go ahead and I can provide my insight. As with all forms of interpretations and decoding, the best person to note the message is yourself. All I will do is just kind of add different perspectives and, look at the symbolism within the dream and give ideas of what that could potentially be. Okay, so Gleb says, absolutely. I feel like I can't be the same person. So I need to get rid of anything that blocks my chakras. Yes, anything that doesn't resonate with my vibrations and create a new reality for I and I. I agree with you. So true. That is what it is in a nutshell. I feel like we're really being called to step into the highest version of ourselves. And that means to let go of all the things that no longer serve us. So whether it's fear or bad habits or whatever it may be, it's time to just kind of let that go so we're not carrying it onto this new chapter of our lives. Okay, Brother Imani, I find using my oracle very useful to understand what it is, will, and has been happening. I do mine monthly and it always helps. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. You see, I do oracle cards occasionally. I'm not with me, I do my oracle cards just whenever I feel like it. I'm not really strict on it on that way. However, that may be something I start to use more. What would I say is my spiritual tool of choice? I would say is journeying, which I swear by. I've been constantly swear buying by that one. Give thanks to CRA. She was the person who first introduced me to experiencing journeying, and I must say that has been phenomenal for me. And recently I've got into journaling, which is the writing version, and I generally do find that helpful as well. So definitely, I think whatever works for people, find what works with you and run with it, because whatever keeps us connected to spirit keeps us to connect into receiving messages and divine guidance and insight is crucial, especially now, like more than ever. I just feel like you need to really be in touch with your spiritual self, because everything that we've kind of grown to know in our physical realities is constantly changing. And so if you don't have that spiritual foundation, I think these changes will like rapidly impact people quite severely. So having that spiritual strength is so important. Okay, so Iwapele movement, peace and blessings. Give thanks, family, give thanks. All right, Carol says, I find it difficult to remember my dreams this season, although there's been a lot of activity happening within them. Yeah, I've had the same experience, Carol. My dreams, it fluctuates. Sometimes I can dream and I remember straight, vivid dreams. Or I've also noticed throughout this season as well, it's just kind of dipped. Like I know I am dreaming because I can just, like when I wake up in the morning, I know something happened, but I just cannot recall any details. Last night, I know for the first time in ages, I actually had a dream or had dreams that I could still remember some of the information, but even now it's gone. I remember this morning, and admittedly, I didn't write it down in time. So I'm going to see if I can recall later and write down. All I can remember is seeing a whole bunch of cats. And I think I was about to feed them or something like that. And they came through a window into my home. But that's all I can remember of that one. But there was more, but I'm still trying to remember them. Okay, the nightmare started to stop. Then after the eclipse, the great opportunities opened, and Akashic guardians of records told me it's how you use it, not that you get it. Interesting. The nightmare started to stop. Then after the eclipse, the great opportunities open. Okay. I would need more information. Like if you could join the call, feel free to do that as well. I can put the link out again. Um, but you're saying that the nightmare started to stop, and then after the eclipse, the great opportunity. So you're saying basically since the eclipse, more opportunities started to open up for you. So that's great. I'm just putting a link in the chat for anyone who does want to join the studio with me. And if you want to put a question through and talk to me directly, I'd love that. Okay. All right. Fantastic. But yes, if you've already started to notice that since the eclipse has gone by, you're starting to see things opening up for you, that's great, because that means that you kind of start in that new cycle of your life. You're discarding things. Even the fact that the nightmares have stopped as well, that's a good sign of that, of like kind of letting those past things go. It could also be referencing like fears. I mean, obviously, you didn't get into the details of what you saw in those visions, but it could well be referring to certain fears that you may hold. And so the fact that they stopped and you've seen new opportunities open, it could be referencing that you've let certain fears go and you're moving on to that new phase of your life. So that's fantastic. Well done. Well done. Okay, so a bit more. My dream was always in a peaceful position with people I knew, and then became a disturbed violence. When I see the person, they look like a monster when I confront them. Interesting. Interesting. So it's peaceful. People you knew. Wow. Did you so you knew the people. So were they family members? Are they ancestors? And then when I see the person, they look like a monster when I confront them. Interesting. So that could be you maybe confronting, because even though the person looks like a monster, it could actually still be you. It could be you confronting that aspect of yourself that you've not really dealt with in the physical realm yet. Or it can be just symbolic of a certain challenge that you may have to overcome. So that monster figure may be an external person. It could be yourself. But yeah, definitely that sounds interesting. Thank you. Hi, TC Norton. Thanks for waiting. Hiya.
Are you hearing me?
I can hear you. Thank you for
Okay,
joining
hi,
me.
hi. I'm gonna try my best not to be long-winded. But I was the one that it made the statement about the water references. I'm from the U.S. I migrated to a Caribbean island about 4 years ago, and so I had to leave. I want to say like earlier this year, go back to the States. When I came back, I had issues with my living situation. So when I came back, I was doing Airbnb. The first Airbnb I stayed, I was noticing water on the floor, but I didn't experience anything. But when I left, the host told me that the bathroom had flooded out. I didn't experience the flooding, but they told me this. This was Airbnb number one. And then I went to another Airbnb in a different part of the island. Same thing happened. The bathroom flooded out.
Okay.
But the water did not come in my room. The water, I was right next to the bathroom, but it flowed in another direction. So I was like, okay, coincident, maybe, maybe not. And then I started having, I think last week or so, I had a dream about I got engulfed in water. It's like a big wave came and covered nothing bad happened. It just water just came and I got engulfed in it. Everybody was fine. Some of my friends and family were there. But that's what happened. And then I had a really, really, really trippy experience recently. Um, so I started doing my ancestral stuff. I want to say probably around like 7 or so years ago. And so I checked back around that time what I was doing. And I was like, oh, that's what I was. That's why I had just started like discovering this. And I think like the eclipse maybe have kind of like closed out a chapter or something. I don't know. This is what I'm assuming. This is what I'm feeling. I had a really trippy experience where I felt like I received a visit from someone, and they were here with me in my physical self. I went and took a shower like they hadn't felt water on their skin in human form in a long time. They really enjoyed it. I went outside, let them feel the sun and all those things. And we just kind of chilled and hung out, and then that was it. So I really, um, so I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I had some things that I had to kind of transition out as well during the eclipse. I had to close out. So I don't know. Maybe my spirit ascended high enough or something. Maybe they coming to do some quality control. I don't know what's going on, but that's what happened. I mean, recently I also purchased when I was like, I have a friend who practices voodoo. She's Haitian, and I asked her about it. She was like, "Oh, she's not gonna stop until you answer." I'm like, okay. So I was like, I went and did what I was instructed to do, and yeah. Also, this eclipse was like really. an adventure. If I could say, I feel like I kind of ascended. So like the next day I woke up, I felt like I was experiencing the world for the first time. Like it was a new experience, even though I was frequenting the same places and talking to the same people. I was it was a new experience. I felt like Avatar or something. So
Like a rebirth.
yes.
All right, so I'm going to take you back to the beginning where you said you went to the Airbnbs, and it's like wherever you went, you flooded out the place, or there happened to be floods. And so I remember there's even an experience that Dalian and I had where in his apartment at the time where he was living years ago now, after I came to visit one day and it flooded. And he even wrote an article about it. And so what it came to be years later, we found that I embodied the energy of Yemaja, the Yoruba Orisha. And so I'm getting water spirit vibes from the whole story that you just told me because I'm like, this just sounds too familiar with what I've gone through. So then, you know, what I would have to ask you then is there's many different kind of correlations with these kind of water spirit energies. So first of all, would you describe yourself as someone who's a bit of a healer archetype, you know, maybe the one in your friendship group who kind of helps everyone with their problems and things like that. Um, Very empathic, maybe spiritually sensitive, possibly always been quite aware of certain things like intuitive dreams, things like that. It will
Mhm.
resonate so far.
So
Other,
um, like yeah. So at the time when I first started this, when I said this was like about 70 years or so ago, I would start get little things, but I was like, okay, I don't know, happenstance, whatever, I don't know. Um, but they started, to when I came to this island that I'm on, they started to get more frequent and more in depth. And so when I started doing the work, I still, when I go back home to the States, I'm from the South. I still do my, ancestral veneration and things like that. But my Haitian friend, she was like, you need to do something there. I was like, I never thought to do any I don't know, ancestral stuff or whatever here, like while I'm here. But she was like, you need to do it there. And yeah, basically that's what I have become extremely like sensitive to people's energies as of late. Probably always have been, but it's something that I'm able to identify
yes,
more now. Um, and I didn't want to like assume, but I felt like whoever that was that came and sit with me was, I envisioned like this beautiful African like goddess, so to speak. Not necessarily, I don't know, like a mermaid or something. Just very, I don't know if it was like me and my preconditioned self. Like this is just what you would identify as that, but that's what I, kind of saw. Like, but I didn't want to jump to
yeah,
conclusions. But that's what
yeah.
it felt like.
So I would say you're in the ideal place now because you said you're in the Caribbean, right?
Hmm.
So now is a great opportunity for you to start building that relationship with the energy of water. So do you go to the beach quite frequently?
No, actually, I just started because I do not like the tourist areas and stuff. So I've gravitated more towards like the rivers and things. And so I actually went before I left a few months ago. Before I left going back to the States, I went and I did like this one, sat with the water, prayed for world peace and all the stuff like that. And so like when I got back, I was like, oh, have I done something? I don't know. Because it's like water everywhere. I was like, I actually, since I've been here, have not made that many trips to the water, to the beach, because it's like, but now I'm like, okay, I try and go like really, really early before, people come and start, gravitating there. So where it's like more so just peace and quiet. I'm starting to do more now, but I got some of the water and I brought it back with me.
Brilliant.
Um, so yeah, it was.
Brilliant. Because even if you're collecting whether sea water or river water, you can now use that in your ritual. So you could add some to, say, your baths if you're having certain spiritual baths to, invoke that energy in your life. You may want to add some to your altar space or any items that you have that you may want to spiritually charge a bit. So that's brilliant. But you are in the perfect space now to really develop that relationship more. And then you said yourself that even from that first time when you went and prayed for peace and everything, that's when you started to see the water even more. So it's like now that you're kind of like having that kind of reciprocal relationship, you're going to start seeing the water responding even more. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you for letting
So
me
welcome.
chat.
And thank you for sharing as well. So thank you. All right. Take care, TC. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye. All right. And we have Babu Assad in the chat. Hi, Babu. How are you doing?
Yes, yes. Greetings, 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 beautiful souls. Greetings. And yes, doctor, it's been a long time since we talked. So,
Yeah. How have you been?
yes,
I've seen you for a minute.
yeah. Last time it was tipsy torsy, but this time, everything just looking, looking more brighter.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I wanted to clarify, doctor, on the situation that I was talking about, as far as with the dream.
Okay.
Now, that was a big thing. I mean, I, I contacted the Kasha Records because I may know this thing right now. So I did do that, and the Kasha Records don't really take this side or take that side. They just tell straightforward, and it's not really a clarification. Um, but what I wanted to do was ask you. So in the dreams that I had, okay, I had been doing more spiritual work on myself, far as meditating and even astral traveling and things. And so I got back to my regular self for who I was and where I'm going and where in the position of the heights where I stood. So anyway, I came in and I went down. I had a dream for a long time. That was during the lunar. The lunar had just came. The eclipse had just came, and so I dreamed, and okay, it was like a little party. Everybody was there. I think it was Billy Carson. It was Doctor. It was just a lot of people that are familiar that I knew. That were involved in this consciences thing. You see, and everybody was having fun. And then all of a sudden, this one guy will come in and and it got real intense
Okay.
because then I run it and I grabbed this little one. I think that was my inner child. I don't know, but I grabbed the little one there, and he was running. Then Billy Carson they ran out the door and jumped in the car. And then Ivan said, "Well, I'm gonna go off follow them." And then some said, "No, you need to go and you need to face." And so I come back, and so I have to face this thing, and because I don't, I don't check for, check for no demons and none of that thing there, say. So I looked in the thing, and it turned like a monster. I just look, I said, so I got really bored, with my energy. I put back up with the energy, and and then I said, wait a minute here. I said, wait. This thing is intensifying while I'm intensifying. And then I called on the ancestor, but then I said, but then the ancestor and all the people just stood in the box and nobody did no movement. And then it came to me and said, hey, he said, that's you.
What
And
the
if
mo-
we fight you, that's yeah, it's you. And I said, well, hey, let me go ahead, and I started talking to it, and it started going down and down and started forming and forming, and it came to that. So when I was fighting it, now this was so crazy. When I was fighting it, and I was aware, it was getting loud outside. Boom, doors were slamming hard, I mean, and this was on the outer side, not in the, in the inner. And so it was like kind of shake, but I said, no, I don't fear and I can't fear, so I'm gonna stand strong. And then I asked this one lady, I said, well, hey, and she was saying, well, you gotta ask the questions, you gotta do this and do that. And then she started talking about, oh, it's the bad. And I said, but there ain't no such thing as that. It's got to be something that is right there that is telling. So when I go into it, and then they would say, well, hey, it's the lunar. You're going to have all of these things coming to you. So then when I come in and it will come, I would just ask the questions and continue asking questions. And I was told, well, you shouldn't ask anything question, but I was asking questions and everything started to calm. And it's like I said, the sooner it got closer to the eclipse, it went away.
Mm.
And then I started talking, I said, well, we'll talk to the ego and we'll talk to the mental self. And so we got into a meditation and talked to the ego and the mental self, and with the breath work. And we went into there because from the heart is where, it's where the source is, and from there is where you enter the mental and all those travels do go. So from there, we went and said, we're going to go to the ego and we're going to go to the mental. So the ego was hollering, it was running away, and I said, well, it's safe and it's this, and we talked. I mean, the ego had a big talk. And so the ego got in the position where it's, hey, you're gonna work with me. We're gonna leave that past, we're gonna leave this, and we're working right now in this love and this light. And it felt like I was neglecting it and moving forward into a love and light and say, hey, this is what we were, this is what, So I had to get that straight. And then the mental was like a little kid. It was hiding and it had a lot to say. And when I started, doing my soul writing, it had a lot to say. And so we got those two things together. And then all of a sudden, all of those dreams and stuff started to gone away. And then I found out I was an empath. I was one that can naturally see this and do that. So then, I get these calls. I got a call, and during the eclipse, I said, well, I'm going to be right here. I got some crystal. I'm going to do my meditation by myself. But I ended up doing this with this guy, and he was going through some things. So I helped him. I did a healing. Basically, I was healing. But I was still going into it. And one of the things I did in the bed, because I had went to a astrology meditation on the panel, and we had done that before the eclipse came. So when I came to the eclipse, basically I knew about the stars. So I knew Chiron, Mercury, retrograde. I knew the Aries, and all of these ones had already, Venus had all come into this one eclipse. And by the time of the eclipse would be Aries, because that was the time when when you would submit and you were supposed to vision. But anyway, I went into that and we took little breaks. First, we looked and talked to ourselves, so we just calmed. We didn't think. We just was talking to ourselves, and then we went into the Chiron where we needed to let go. And then we wanted to go ahead and change what we let go into an energy that could be in a uplifting of good for ourselves. And that was what you're supposed to get to share on. And so basically I would just say, hey, we do our breathing, we just sit there and think on these things that we wanted to do. And then we did the one for the peace, for the world. And I said, well, do this, but in those things there, it was so crazy. In the blood clot, in those things there, like some came about because one of his people were trying to do something. That's what I called to him. And he said to go back to that same house, and you were getting tested. whatever the case was, because you say you want peace. Now we're going to see, and whatever that was in your past was coming right in front of you. And even I got a revelation was that simply I saw, when I look into the thing, I saw a whole crowd of auditorium of people. And then I saw, this was during the eclipse. And then I saw saw a guy on stage talk. He was talking exactly about me. And he said, hey, we're introducing Bob, and I came on. And maybe you could have saw this too in the eclipse. Okay, when he came on, we was a band, and it was many people. I mean, over thousands and thousands of people. It was a big auditorium. And so the band came, and it was a hologram. To come find out, it was a hologram playing. And then behind the hologram was the actual players. Like, you know. And then we stepped through the hologram to the crowd and started playing, and then the hologram just melted away. And we started playing and doing that, and then it was coming to me that you're gonna have to work and to do, not to just go and to make this is a career, but to work toward what you need to work toward. What is your purpose? So if you go work, what is the purpose of why you're there? What is the purpose of why you're doing your music? What is the purpose? And that was the key that came out. What is your purpose? So in everything you're doing, what is your purpose? If something happened, you don't say, oh, well, that's what I think I would do. Hey, why is this happening to me? And why did this? No. Hey, what is the purpose you're on? And what can you learn from this here mixed with this purpose? Why did it come in this way? So the opportunity came here. What was that purpose? So the purpose you might be on, you're on, but there may be something that's trying to distract you from that purpose, or it may be something that's a lesson for that purpose. So it's just kind of like when so-called bad things come, because everything is one. Bad and good is one, because everything works together in one. So what we see that it is bad, quote, quote, it's really good, because what we look and see inside that, what was the purpose of that to come? Why, what is the purpose? And what can I learn from that? Because sometimes it's just a rebirth, as we say. We're not used to it, but it's coming. It's coming to show us something, to mold us, to make us, so we can look at it in that kind of thought. It's not just everything is coming bad, but hey, what is the lesson that's in here?
Definitely.
What can I learn from this? Oh, I can't get it over there. I can't get over there. Maybe it's not the universe wants you to go there. Maybe the universe has you on a path that is on that path. And you continue like, I gotta get it. I gotta ancient. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. And then the universe, okay, you go. And then you find out that was not what it was, but you yourself, with your thought, which is your action, which performs your action, from your thought is your vision in the quantum, or however you want to call it, because that's right down in there where you could see it, visualize it. Then if you want to astral travel, you do it. But one thing I come up to do, and I guess I can share, is that people that listen, is that, when you manifest, you have to look, first of all, you have your thought. And when your thought is, you have to have that actual want or that goal, what you're shooting for. And then you have to visualize that. And one thing you got to do, you say, well, if this is what I want to do, then I need to go and look at the places that it is, or go visit those places. Even if you don't even have that money, you don't even have that, which is that. but you start to get on that little tendency. And then you go and you can visualize that. You see yourself in whatever that is. And then from the action there, now you gather up whatever, if it's costing money you don't have, you gather up all of these chart, everything there. And then you go ahead and then you go from there, and now you know your direction of your path, what you need to go and do. Then you can go and give it through the meditation, to the prayer, however you want, to the universe. And then you start out on it. You start out on it. Things will start to come to you so that you can fulfill that, you know. But the thing that always happened in the past with so I bring it up, and it's not, what happens is you get that. That's what it says. It's it's not that you get that, it's what is your purpose you're going to use it for. That's what basically they were saying, with the purpose you're using it for. Because you can get it, that comes. If you're in the spiritual and you're connected, that's coming. That's little. That's real little. Really, money is a real little thing. If you really in your love and light, the spiritual, you're into that, that'll come. But the problem is, when it comes, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna go and say, well, hey, well, I got it now. Hey. So now that energy got you. Oh yeah. So now you turn from what you had first put your purpose or your vision for.
Mm-hmm.
So now you changed up that route for the manifestation of what you wanted. So now you're going to something else that you have not even seen or even been able to touch. So then that doesn't really get to the point where you really want, it has this little road, because you have not even touched that road. You see? So, but that's the great thing about it, is that you have your choice. We make a choice, you know? We
Mm-hmm.
can go this direction or we can go that direction. But when we get what we get, do we use it for what we use it? Or we take it for somewhere else, and then we want to blame the universe. Well, why didn't you do it? No, because you were focusing on this here, and this was already planned and made out for you, but you strayed away and you want to go for this over here. Well, anyway, that's how the thing goes, you know. So I don't know.
No worries. Thank you for sharing that with us. You've definitely had an interesting eclipse season. But I just wanted to go back to the very beginning of your dream, where you said like they were like all these spiritual teachers and you were chilling out with them, and
Yeah.
then they went off, and then you were gonna follow them, but then it's like your mind said no, you have to stay and confront this. And so for me, that's a very, very powerful teaching in that dream just there for anyone listening, because they were all well-known spiritual teachers that you were around, and they went off, and you were left to confront this monster by yourself. So to me, the main message there is there's spiritual teachers and you can share wisdom with them, and you can learn from them even, but it's always, the power is always within you. Nobody else is greater than you. And so by you confronting that monster, which in the end you still found out it was you, which I even said when you just got a little message, I thought it could be you. And so even you said, as you started to confront it, it started to physically start to get smaller in front of your face. So that is a very, very powerful sign of you literally confronting your own demons in your dream. And that's very powerful. So thank you for sharing that. So yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yes, doctor.
All right, greetings. Thanks for that. Thank you. So also give thanks to everyone who came in with their calls. Also feel free to also join. I've put the link in, so if anyone does have any other questions they want to put through, comments or share experiences, you're more than welcome to do so. Aisha Stewart says, definitely need a one-on-one with you. I need a mentor. You're more than welcome to have a one-on-one with me. I do consultations, so that is not a problem at all. Let me just have a read. Everything I have been dreaming now is happening within a day. Usually it'll be a few weeks or months, but now it's within days. As I close my eyes, there is spirits giving messages to deliver. Amazing, brilliant. So you sound like you're very in tune. You're definitely connecting to these energies and they are passing on messages to you. And I would say, if they are telling you to pass on those messages, then honor that fact of yourself being a vessel. And so when messages are passed on for you to put out to others, definitely do that, because that is part of your purpose and why you're here, and to relay those messages. So that is amazing. So I think this will be a good time, because I don't have any calls or comments coming in. I'm going to go and show a preview of the Spirit is Eternal film. So just to give an update on that, Spirit is Eternal is a documentary that myself and my husband Dalian made and was released in 2017. It took us a whopping 5 years to make. And that was just because we were juggling, the finances of it all, the practicalness of it all, juggling at one point one child and then two children. And so, yeah, it's a labor of love, but a fantastic film that we're really proud of. So yeah, I was going to show a quick preview and then we'll rejoin the Q&A afterwards. Across all African communities, spirituality is at the core of their existence. It permeates every aspect of life and is held to be the source of all occurrences and experiences. All things in creation are deemed to be sacred, as they contain the essence of the Supreme Creator. So what does African spirituality entail?
The oldest belief in God in Africa was that God is a mother. Then came changes. There appeared belief in a male God, side by side with the female.
The concept of God, the concept of the Creator, the concept of is there even such a thing as the Creator is a big question that humanity has grappled with for many, many thousands of years. Because Africa is the place where the human race originated, Africa would also be the place where the very first discussions about what or what is God, goddess, creation, was there ever such a thing, that would be the first place where that discourse would happen. Now, the scholar that's advanced the discussion was Professor Charles S. Finch, who is a medical doctor, but he's also wrote something called Echoes of the Old Darkland. And in that book, he spells out his theory that when we're looking at the origin, evolution of the concept, it wasn't originally God, it was goddesses. And these goddesses were not based on women, they were based on animal types. Some people called them zoo types, right? And you had images such as the pregnant hippopotamus, large and impressive, and pregnant because she's about to give birth. And this idea of being about to give birth is creation of new life.
The mother was the creatress before there was belief in a male creator. That is what the stories say. Before there was a father God, there first came a mother God who gave birth to the father God.
According to Dr. Finch, other images of the Creator came from nature. The moon became important because the lunar cycle of 29.5 days is connected to the woman's menstrual cycle, which is also of the same length. So the moon was associated to be female. So essentially the elemental powers of night and darkness, sun and moon, these became important as well. Then you've got the tree being an important symbol, because the tree with its fruit, the tree as a symbol of protection, this is now sustenance and so on. Again, this was associated with the goddess. Now at a later date, we get the evolution of male deities. And this is when humanity rose to a position where people understood that males and females are important, just as important in the whole concept of reproduction.
We know that God is the one who gives food to all that exists in the universe. So in this sense, we call him generally Papa Bon Dieu, meaning Papa God, Papa Almighty God. However, when things go bad for us and we are in problems and things of that sort, we know that who we call is Bon Dieu Maman Moi. That means God who is my mother. So in fact, this is the way approach of the voodoo. People toward that Almighty that we know, that we believe is a feminine figure. Because in our vision, life can only come from a woman. God for us, the image we have of God is one of a woman.
I can't view all creation as reflection of God. Our creation story starts by saying God created a thing, singular, a thing, not things. This is another way of saying that God willed and became. In the becoming mode, he assumed energy. So you have wisdom, God, and energy. Of course, matter is congealed energy. So human being is matter and divine spirit. The body is the matter, and all created things disintegrate. But the divine aspect of man lives on forever. It's immortal. When we say Asasia, we are acknowledging the bounty of God. The earth gives us trees, vegetables, shelter, and everything else we need. So when you call Asasia, we are acknowledging the bountifulness of the divine, not a separate spirit living anywhere. When we call upon the trees give us seeds, food, and shelter. So again, it's acknowledging the bountifulness of God. We call on the river, we get fish from the river. We get water from the river to wash and drink. Again, it's a manifestation of God, which we are acknowledging. So the Akan prayer, all his activities, is a prayer to God.
Our world is not a one-fold way of looking at the spirit world. And that's why we have many, many different spirits. And each one of these spirits have a specific function. And so we don't have a one box fits all. Each spirit comes in and plays a particular function in your life that is not like the other spirit involvement in your life. And so that the nature spirit function is to basically help you through the different crossroads in your life, to help you unstuck yourself and to help you expand in such a way that you can embrace what lies ahead of you. And the fire spirit role is to basically help you be inspired. And we all know without inspiration, nothing works in this world. And so when the fire spirit shows up in your life and ignites your whole life, that we call it that I am on fire, that fire is not to be used in a destructive way, but that it is to be used in a way that enables it to help you connect to your spirit and to connect to all the different spirits out there, so you can have more alliances in being able to achieve your purpose and so forth.
A natureza, para nós do candomblé, todo mundo cultua a natureza, porque nós cultuamos que as árvores, cultuamos a água, cultuamos os fenômenos da natureza como o trovão, o relâmpago, as lagoas, o mar, que cada um dessas coisas que eu falei tem um orixá que protege, tá entendendo? Então, para nós, nós que somos a religião que mais protege a natureza e que é mais ligada à natureza, porque sem a natureza a gente não pode fazer nada. Porque toda a nossa cultura é em cima da natureza. Entendeu? Por exemplo mesmo, ali nós temos dancô, que é uma árvore, temos jiroco, que é outra árvore, temos apaocá, que é outra árvore. Então tudo nós em cima, as fontes sagradas, todas as fontes são sagradas para a gente, então a natureza para a gente é tudo. Sem a natureza, o candomblé não existe.
A big part of our tradition is what the West call deities or gods, what the Akans call Obusum, and the Yorubas call Orisha, and the Voodoo of Haiti called Lowa, and the people in ancient Kemet call Neteru. And what they're talking about is the forces of nature, what we call in this society laws of physics. What we're calling our deities or our forces of nature are powers that exist in nature and in all the plants and elements and animals of nature. But these forces also exist in each human being. They also exist in the greater cosmos. They also exist in every cell in the human body. They also exist in each organ in the human body. They also exist as a process in each system in the human body. We have the respiratory system. We have the blood system. We have the lymphatic system. We have the digestive system. These are systems in the body that works according to certain rules and principles that have certain powers. And these systems, the respiratory system and the digestive system, they all interact with each other.
In the Voodoo Pantheon, we have what we call Oluwa. They are spiritual masters. They are our teachers. There are vast categories of Lwa. Some of the principal ones are Ogun, Ezuli, the Gede, Dambala, Sogbo. There are a number of spirits that Africans brought with them from places like Benin, Dahomey, from Nigeria, Yoruba land, Igbo land, from Angola, from Senegambia, from all these places. We brought these traditions with us to the Americas. It's broken down in categories in IT that does not exist in say, in Dahomey or in Benin. It's broken down in ways that it doesn't even exist in Brazil. We have Rada spirits, which are the older, cooler spirits of Africa. But we also have the petro spirits, and the petro spirits and energies were born here in the Americas. They were born here because, again, part of our work is this act of remembrance. It's this act of remembrance. It is also about maintaining space and territory. If we're constantly being cut down, if we're constantly being killed, if we're constantly being tortured, we are not in a position to serve as the instruments of the Lwa.
So our understanding of nature and how nature works allow us to create these things we call deities and orishas. But these things are concepts, ideas, and principles that cause certain forces in nature to animate. Through studying our religion, we see how these things animate in nature. Then we learn to use them to cause them to animate within our own self, starting with our personality to ethical moral training, then to have them by changing your behavior, your belief, your attitude. You also then introduce these forces to the very molecular cellular structure in your body, because those things cause changes in your body as well, based on the same forces. So that's what deities are, and that's what forces of nature is.
The Lwa, the Orisha, Inkisi, Vondu, all of the names that we call our spirits by, all of the manifestations of God, teach us to be our own masters. Our own masters. They teach us to be self-sufficient. They teach us to be administrators and governors of our own destinies. These are basic notions that actually have extreme importance and extreme value in the 21st century.
The forces of nature are therefore archetypes of knowledge representing aspects of ourselves and our connection with the Creator. They reflect the interconnection between all things, as all originate from the same source. Ultimately, they remind us of our inherent power, and by studying them in more depth, we learn how to manifest our God consciousness to attain our divine purpose on earth.
Donduma, olha aí, Donduma.
E a ave do campo chora, Donduma.
E olha aí, Donduma, olha aí, Donduma.
E a ave do campo chora, Donduma.
E olha aí, Donduma, olha aí, Donduma.
E a ave do campo chora, Donduma.
Olha aí, segura a onda, segura a onda, segura a onda. Aí, Donduma.
Yay! So greetings everyone. I hope you enjoyed the preview. Even for me watching that back, that was really strange. I must say, I make films and I don't tend to watch them again. So it's been a while since I watched that and I was like, wow, memories coming back. So, drop any comments, any feedback you have regarding the film, the clips, if there's anything you want to discuss regarding what you've just seen. We'll also be continuing the conversation from before. So if you have any other comments, feel free to join me as well. So Ricardo saying very nice. Clever Stranger says, loved it. Gleb was like, what? An ending. It was really interesting. Yeah, so I've also put a link in if anyone does want to watch the full film. I've attached a coupon code to it as well, so you'll get 25% off. We'll keep that up there for the next few days. So definitely, if you are interested in watching the film, go check it out. TC Norton says, phenomenal work. Thank you very much. Nature Man says, very uplifting, educational. All things are one different name, same frequency. Indeed, indeed. And that's what was just so amazing doing that documentary is, we interviewed all these amazing speakers from different traditions across the globe, but they are all ultimately saying the same thing. And this is what I find so beautiful with these traditions, is as much as we've all been raised and conditioned to be like, oh, there's so much division and divisiveness and one person does this and one person does that. When we actually look at the core of these teachings, they're all literally saying the same thing. And we're talking about nature-based spiritual traditions, which is always going back to the earth, going back to, the natural world around us and our connection with it. And so, yeah, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And, looking back and seeing people like Ancestor Sobonfu Somè, who's, no longer with us, and Baba Credo Mutwa as well. Like, it's just, we are so grateful that we kind of just followed that passion to do this work. Even when I look back now, I don't even know how we even managed to complete that film. The dramas we had trying to complete that film is unbelievable. And even when I watch it now, I'm looking at it and I can see some of the flaws. Like, we had audio issues, all sorts, but you know what? We finished it. And I feel that, when I take those bits away and I stop looking at it through a director's lens and I look at it through the lens of what it speaks on and just in terms of documenting that history and the various different cultures. I think that's really important. So yeah, I'm glad it's done though. I look forward to watching the full film. Give thanks, Toyin. And yeah, you know, people do ask sometimes, is there going to be an Ancestral Voices 3? Because this is actually a sequel documentary. There's one that we did before this. Ancestral Voices 3? I don't think so. I feel like I'm still recovering from the first ones. All right. So Gleb says, do you practice any of those traditions? All right. So I am of Jamaican heritage, born in the UK. And do I practice any of these traditions? So what happened is we obviously went through this journey. We started now 2010. So when Ancestral Voices started. So we're now in our 14th year. And so when I started, I was just like learning, but we decided to kind of document our learning process as we went along. And so part of what happened is one of the people we interviewed happened to be an IFA practitioner. And so through him, we were introduced to a Baba. So I ended up getting readings. So I was able to find out who I was in the Yoruba tradition. As I mentioned earlier, I found out I was Yemaja. So I was also given a shrine. So what I would say is I was given like a sort of, you would say it's an initial entry point, but I haven't completed my initiation. I personally chose not to go down the initiation route because why is my reason for not going down the initiation? I feel for me personally, I'm not sure if that's necessarily my calling. So my husband Dalian, who I made the documentary with, he actually also received at the same time. He found out he was Ogun. We also got our children checked as well. So we already found out what, you know, they were. But he, like 11 years later, so for him, it was only about, I think in 2021, where he actually got initiated into Ogun. So, you know, that's been a long journey for him and myself, but I've actually chosen not to at this stage. Whether that will change down the line, I don't know. But for now, I just feel that I'm being more called to work within myself. And I think that's just my own thing about rules and regulations, and I'm a very free spirit type of person. And so what I've come to find out with the Ifa tradition, and it's nothing wrong with it, it's just that's just how it is. You know, there's certain days where you do certain things, certain venerations, you know, upkeep of the shrines and all that, and you know, that's fine. But I feel that you obviously need to be very committed if you're going to go down that route. And for me, because I, you know, like water, I am very fluid, I'm all over the place. I just feel like when my spiritual routine becomes too regimented and restricted, I don't feel free. And then I worry like, oh my gosh, I've forgotten to do this today and da, 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 da. So that's personally why I haven't been initiated or gone down that road. That may change though. That may change. So I hope that answers your question. But for me, what I've had is the benefit of being able to kind of learn from all of these traditions and kind of formulate my own spiritual practice that resonates with me and that is more I guess more authentic to me and allows me to kind of bring my own intuition and personal guidance to my day-to-day experience. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, so hey, Tonya Melendez, thank you, the Black Psychic Librarian. Welcome, Tanya. So good to see you. Also, I've got the studio link here, so if you do want to join the conversation, I'd love to have a chat with you as well. So feel free. I'm going to drop that in the chat, but nice to see you. All right, so I'm just adding the studio link in now. So if anyone does want to join the conversation, feel free. We did some dream interpretations earlier. We had some nice chats, so feel free. Aisha Stewart, beautiful. Thank you. You're more than welcome. So yes, so that's my spiritual existence, so to speak. But yeah, I just find that, especially I think as I've got older as well, my spiritual practice is a lot more, I'm not as strict as I used to be, and I quite like that. So greetings, Afidara. Nice to see you. Much love. All right, Ricardo. Welcome, Ricardo. Hiya. You're currently muted. The mute button should be at the bottom.
I have found it. I have found it.
Fantastic.
All right, all right. Um, First of all, I would like to say how amazing I found the preview of the full movie, because I saw a lot of people I'm following actually, or let's say I used to follow. Um, I find it amazing. I find it amazing. There's a lot of stuff in there. So I would like to say great job,
Thank you.
and there's no words. There's no words. It's really amazing. It's really amazing.
Fantastic. I appreciate your feedback, Ricardo. Wonderful. So, is there anything you would like to add to this conversation today? We've been flowing on all different topics, whether it's something you saw in the film or something else that spiritually is going on that you may want to ask questions about.
Let's say not specifically about the film, but I would like I would like to discuss a little bit about let's say I've been following the channel for a lot of time actually. I remember one of the of the interviewers with Auntie Tejaya.
Auntie Day,
My
yeah,
my bad if I say the name wrong.
yeah.
And she was actually warning us all of the changes coming. And to be honest, I think I felt the changes, and she was actually right. So the energy flowing, it has indeed been more difficult in every aspect, and like it all happened the way she was saying it. So I think she didn't leave any dot behind, and especially for people in Europe, like you're in UK, I'm here in the Netherlands. So um, it all happened. It all happened, and I would like to ask, how did you experience that, or how did you manage with all of the changes, especially after the COVID period? How did you manage with all of that? Because I think you have felt it also, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So I must say, the 2020 period, at that point, it was okay. That's actually when we were doing a lot of these online interviews. It was just like, we were speaking about a lot of things. And
Yes.
I know that many people at that point were struggling. But in my personal reality, I think that's because I wasn't allowing myself to operate on a fear-based level. It was actually fine. However, I would say the change started to happen from about 2021. And that's where, particularly on YouTube, for example, a lot of people who were talking about certain things before, either they become shadow banned or their YouTube completely shut down, and there was this like complete censorship that started to take place online. And then this is where we started to see fact checkers and all of those things. So there was a strong policing that was taking place, and so it was silencing a lot of people who've been historically speaking out. That's even one of the reasons why we're not on YouTube like we used to be, because nobody can see when we post. Like they've really just clamped it down.
Actually, I think I could still see everything. So I have never experienced any fault, like, if I can phrase it so. So it hasn't been negative or difficult for me to see any of your posts, or
Oh,
of any of the posts of ancestral voices. And I must say it, I really miss those interviews, even though if I couldn't catch them online, but I've always came back to watch them, especially if I'm driving long hours. It was so amazing to watch all of them people you guys were interviewing. Mama Beina Beo, like, come on.
we have had some phenomenal guests. We do have Tonya Melendez in the audience as well. She was one of our guests, and we have had amazing speakers. And we probably will start doing that work again. I do feel that
Please.
I miss the YouTube days as well. Even just being here, I'm like, I miss this. But in terms of, you said things that changes that I've noticed outside of the technological lockdown, I also just feel energetically things, and I said this at the beginning of the show, particularly this year, things just seem harder. It's almost, the way I would describe it is like walking through like muddy waters or something. Like everything feels like a struggle. And so I feel like, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but if it resonates with anyone else, feel free to join with the conversation. It's just, it feels like we're all being challenged on a personal level. Like, you know, how strong can you remain in the face of adversity? Like how can you just stay and be like, I'm gonna fight this, I'm gonna see it to the other side? So I feel like we're all being challenged. And when people talk about, you know, World War III is going to be a spiritual battle, I believe the spiritual battle is already taking place, and I believe it is taking place in our own unique individual realities as well as the collective. So I feel like, you know, if you're feeling like there's obstacles in your life, or you may feel like things are harder than usual, that is that test that we're all going through now. And I believe it was, I can't remember his name, but I think it's Babu Asad. I think that's his YouTube channel. It has a different name, but he was talking about things like meditation, fasting, you know, cleansing our vessels. All of these things will actually help, because it is intense. And you know, if you are finding it hard right now, trust me, you're not alone. I had to do a video about that because I'm like, nah, it's intense, and it feels like everything's trying to kind of work against us. So it's about being able to really ground ourselves and stay firm, and you know, really connect with your spiritual aspect. So Ricardo, are you practicing any kind of spiritual ancestral reverence or anything that you do personally?
Let's say I'm more in the learning phases. So yeah, especially I'm very young, so I'm still learning, and it has been a challenge. It has been up and down. There were like good months where like everything seems to be okay, like you could see everything working out, and then the total reverse of it, where nothing seems to be adding up. So I think I'm still in the learning phase, and especially like there's a lot of people I'm following, especially um, Mama Bayina. Like I have also a Haitian root. I was born actually in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince. So I've I'm still learning everything. So I'm still learning. That's all I can say for now. So up
Sure.
and down, but we're still in the way. And I think for me, especially, it has been difficult with my discipline. And I think that's one of the phases, challenges I've been facing, like discipline, like to keep it to keep it all straight or in balance. So I think it takes a lot of discipline to do that,
Yeah.
and I've been struggling with that. Like, it's very difficult. I'm not going to lie to say like it is easy, but no, it's not easy. Discipline is very hard. So
Mm.
I'm in
I
a phase.
I understand. And what I would say is with that as well is, you said that you're still in your space of learning, and that's completely normal. And I would say what I would recommend is just connect with nature. You know, nature is the greatest teacher. If you literally just sit down in a park or wherever, or go find a body of water, the messages, just listen to the messages that come into your head.
Indeed, but I think here in the Netherlands that's difficult, especially with the cold weather. That will not work. It will not work.
You
It's
have a
like
lot of canals though.
so that's not going to work. It's like 8 months cold and
Yeah.
some 2 months like up and down, some a little bit better. So nature around here in the Netherlands, that's not working.
I must say that does make it harder, and this is what I've been struggling with in the UK, is that you kind of need that break. Outside of that, I would say things, whether you're meditating in your home, even in your bathtub, your shower, when you're praying, you can pray to the water and just ask for clarity, healing, cleansing. All of these things are things that we can do for ourselves in the home. And outside of that, things like burning certain resins, you know, bringing nature into your home that way, having certain plants in your home, those things can also help to have you that connection.
Indeed, indeed, totally agree.
But
And
hang in there. The sun will be coming out soon, hopefully.
I hope so. Yes, I hope so. I think I will be leaving the studio now. I'm not like a public face. I like being more in the background. So it was nice speaking to you.
Lovely
So
speaking to you too, Ricardo. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that too. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye. Thank you. Oh, that was beautiful. Okay, so I'll give thanks, Tonya. The movie is so amazing and healing. I appreciate that. Thank you. It is a phenomenal film, if I say so myself, purely because of the amazing speakers who bring in all of their wisdom. Such clarity about nature. The film was very uplifting. Thank you very much, Francine. Soulbird's Nest says, looking forward to seeing the film. We give thanks, Soulbird. We hope you enjoy it. Afidara says, oh, that's my theme right now. Everything feels so challenging. Indeed. And I've been speaking a lot about this because I remember when I put up a video about last week and I was just thinking, like, I can't be the only person who's feeling this right now. So I thought, let me just put this video out because even in my crazy experiences, I was getting clarity about, you know what, that as much as life is hard and challenging and these things are coming up, that the power that we have lies within not internalizing it and taking it personally and just allowing it to flow. And I feel that this challenging stuff that we all seem to be experiencing, not all actually, some people are just flying through this time in life and they're like fine, but for those who are feeling the challenges, I feel like a part of the lesson is about just letting go of fixed beliefs and our attachment to this physical reality as well. I feel like that's what a lot of the uncomfort is stemming from, is that we have a certain mindset that keeps us attached to this reality. And I feel like it's pulling us away to be a bit more detached and to practice detachment. So that's just my thoughts. I'd love to hear other people's opinions and also feel free to join me in the studio. Okay, so CJ says, for me, it's also about listening and acting on the internal guidance, even when your present self is questioning it. Indeed, CJ, indeed. I feel like there has been such a strong echoing message about tuning inwards. And that's actually a message that I received from, I think it was about December last year. And one of the messages I received as clear as day has told me that I need to stop being on the internet as much, because I was shown that when I'm online or going online and, you know, getting caught up on social media, not only is it a distraction, but it's literally taken me away from listening to my internal voice. And one of the messages that really came through so strongly is that I need to really be in tune with myself and that inner knowledge, that inner wisdom. So one of the things that I've done this year is, I normally keep a journal anyway, but this year I've been like meticulous with it. So I've created a digital journal which I complete daily with all of my thoughts, my insights, my sightings, my dreams, because otherwise if I don't do that, I'm going to forget. But I'm really now being intentional about putting myself and my wisdom first. And the internet, I'm still struggling with that. I can't lie. I do still need to phase off a bit more because, yeah, the internet, it draws you in, and I can see that it really captures too much of my mind and my attention. And if my mind is on that, then I'm not really in tune with myself. So Spirit told me, literally, you have no business being on the internet at the rate that you do. Chill out with it. That's what they told me. Okay, so Soulbird's Nest says, I've been releasing so much grief. Well done, well done. I feel like that has been a massive theme for a lot of people as well. And I think from about December, I was really conscious of, and I wrote an article about it as well, actually, just talking about like there was just all of this heavy emotions. I just couldn't even understand what I was even dealing with. But then kind of coming to the conclusion that it was my own grief as well as like collective grief as well. So it's just a lot happening. So that's why I said, if anyone's like spiritually sensitive, you will find that sometimes the stuff that you're picking up on is not just your own, but other people's as well. And that can be overwhelming at times. But well done for being conscious of it. So in Ghana, it's been so hot. At least I can find shade. Oh, I wish I had some heat right now. I need some sunshine. I do envy that right now. I feel like there's been a lack of sun here to the point where my little conspiracy theory hat is starting to tingle, because I'm like, I don't know, it's April. I'm sorry. By now, we normally have a lot more sunny days. I'm just like, where is the sun? I need some sunshine. Okay, so Torian Harris says, thank you for sharing. You're confirming something I need to do also with the digital journal. It's a great way to release and get all your feelings out. It is amazing. I must say, Torian, I found it so helpful. And because it's a digital diary, I can literally just add pictures and illustrations. So it helps me. So for example, if it's a dream and I can now find correlating pictures that kind of spark out to me, then it's perfect. It's great. And I find that when I was doing a written journal, it was just harder to keep on track. I wouldn't necessarily write things in time. Whereas now it's digitally and it's on my computer, I'm just on top of it, or trying to be on top of it. And I make a point of doing it daily. So I'll give an example of my digital diary. The other day I was walking down the street and I randomly saw like these children's cards when you're teaching children to read. And there were a whole bunch of cards scattered on the floor. And there was only one facing up, and it was of a knight, Knight. And I was like, that's interesting. So when you think of knight, what do you think of? For me, I think of fighting, battle, strategy, war, those kind of things. And so I thought, okay, so once again, I put a picture of my knight, a knight in my digital diary. And so I saw that as, you know, that I need to step up my protection, that I need to be prepared to be into battle in terms of fighting, which ties into this challenging energy that I'm already currently feeling. So I thought, all right, it means that I need to be a lot more strategic about how I'm going through life, really put my armor on, so to speak. And then literally yesterday, Dalian was cooking dinner and he had some fresh thyme. And I looked at the thyme and I was like, this thyme is calling me. And so in my mind, I was thinking, I need to drink this as a tea. I need to do something with this thyme. So anyway, I was like, there's a reason why this thyme is calling my attention. And so in fact, I've got my diary here. So I'm actually going to go into my diary one second. So all right, so I went into to look up the symbolism of time, yeah, and I'll read it out for you. So what does the plant thyme symbolize? And I don't have the website to reference now, unfortunately, but it says thyme, like many other scented plants, is steeped in mythology. In ancient Greece and Rome, it was seen as a symbol of strength, power, and courage and sacrifice. It was even embroidered on the togas of the generals. During the Crusades, it was also given to knights about to go into battle and give them strength. So this is why I have my digital diary, because now when spirit's talking to me, I can just be on it and document it before I have a chance to forget. So this knight and this protection energy and courage and being able to kind of confront all challenges has been a proper theme. And I literally just saw the time yesterday. So I just thought I would share that with you, because it's, you know, the spiritual insights that I get all the time are absolutely amazing. So let's see. So Gleb says, I agree. As long as I go inside, I find so much more, which means we as a people know so little about ourselves that this makes up this particular life so interesting. It's time for change to grow. I agree. This calling is for us just to really go within ourselves. And, you know, even down to the time story, it just goes to show spirit is literally always speaking to us. And so when we talk about distractions in the world, a distraction is literally anything that takes you away from listening to your own self. Now, there's nothing wrong with learning and inquiring and, you know, checking out certain things, but when it starts to consume your time more than you spend time in knowing who you are, for me, that's where it becomes an issue, because that means there's so many subtle messages that we're missing out on ourselves daily. So Crystal Anderson says, thank you for your beautiful and timely work. You're so welcome, Crystal. Thank you for joining the conversation. Okay, so do you know Ianda from channel Ianda and Stool? She's brilliant. She would make a great guest. I don't know of her, but I'll have a look. So thank you for that suggestion. Indeed, daughter, time is precious and too much internet takes away from our healing time and energy to see opportunities in front of we. I agree. Because the thing is, I think for many people as well, if you utilize the internet for your own business and things like that, you know, it has its positives, it has its pros and cons. The internet has been phenomenal for us. It's helped us to kind of connect with like minds across the globe. But at the same time, it's really important that we don't allow it to consume us. And what I found, particularly at the beginning of this year, is that social media just doesn't even feel the same anymore. Something energetically, it feels quite draining. I don't know why. And I never had that before. Before, I used to really enjoy it. I think Ricardo was saying that, what changes have I noticed? So that's definitely a change. I would say since this year, and it may have started happening earlier, but definitely more now, the internet, I don't know, it almost feels like a vampiric energy or something. It just drains my life force. I'm like, what is this? And I'm not sure why. It could most likely be from the fact that all these algorithm changes, and it's just like really controlling the narrative, and it's like it's not as free flowing as it was before. And if you're now manipulating people's views, who can see what, then it really takes away the essence of what it originally used to be. So I think there's partly that as well. So I'm also going to put the link in for the chat if anyone wants to continue talking to me. I'm going to be here for about another 20 minutes. So if you do have any questions, comments, or can be something we've already discussed, or if you want to go into a brand new conversation altogether, I'm always up for it. Okay, so Gleb says the internet is only here for some time. When we get back to our powers, that's when we arise. I agree, because I don't know. I'm not sure if the internet necessarily will disappear forever, but I have a feeling that we may have to go without it for a while. So I think that's actually what this time now, where we're all saying it's kind of challenging, we're being called to go within ourselves. I think it's really teaching us how to operate without the internet and start connecting more with our intuitive abilities, our natural ways of being able to communicate with the deeper aspects of ourselves and others. Because there probably will be a time where it goes for a bit, and if we don't learn to emotionally disconnect from it from now, that can be quite traumatic for a lot of people. Whereas some people have already intuitively just started to reduce the amount of time they are on social media and the internet, because they just feel the need to. So that is a very interesting point of discussion. So I appreciate that. Alrighty, so whilst I'm waiting for another person to chat, I'm also going to play another quick video for you. This is a video we have. We have a 6-part video series called The Transformative Self, which was made by Dalian, which explores different African spiritual concepts from different traditions and correlates them with quantum physics. So I'm just going to roll the tapes.
In energetic aspect to be what we can generally call our spirit self. Now, the inherent nature of human beings to always be in a transformative state references primarily that we are first and foremost spirit beings, beings of energy. So again, we are forces. And in each moment and second, we are agents of transformation for a range of systems within our very selves. The first one we can look at is the digestive system. Okay? And what the digestive system allows us to do is we're able to take in bioorganic mass that we call food, and that food then sustains our body. But then as this food, we are drawing out its nutrients, it goes through this system, this process we call the digestive process or system, and eventually leads to what we call waste. And there's even a bit of a conundrum there, because what we call waste is actually treasure for the plants and the vegetation, the same thing that we rely on for sustenance. Yeah, we then give them a treasure that we call waste, and then that helps them to grow and then feed us back. So again, remember in the first slide, we talk about the universe existing in a state of symbiosis. Speaks from a place of self-acceptance. Ubuntu speaks from a place of self-assurance, where our aim is not to be able to, in a sense, become the richest man in Babylon when we compare it to like a concept such as capitalism, you know, where everybody is trying to show just how much better they are than the other. Ubuntu is showing us that actually, no, we are all in this together, and what affects one affects me. So Ubuntu is an even deeper philosophy than socialism or communism. It goes much deeper than that, and this is a cultural concept. Let's know it's not a political one, okay, and has been understood for millennia before Karl Marx even picked up a pen to put to paper. Carrying on, we also know Western science has also not been totally ignorant of this concept either, even when they don't overtly express it. But instead, what they do, it's claimed under different guises and definitions. So we note this same phenomena in chaos theory with Edward Lorenz's work on what he terms the butterfly effect, which is a term he coined in 1969. Let's see what Edward Lorenz put forward that is so out of this world, that we all know of the butterfly effect, but not as many of us know of Ubuntu or read about it even when we go into our educational institutions. But we read or have access to Lorenz's work. So, what the butterfly effect essentially states is that in chaos theory in physics, the butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions whereby a small change in one state of a deterministic, non-linear system can result in large differences in a later state. It states that a small act, such as the flutter of a butterfly's wings, can cause a typhoon halfway around the world. This is basically a rendition of the principle of Ubuntu, that all things are connected and affect each other. And it also reflects the Kemetian principle, the law or principle of cause and effect.
Hey, greetings, family. So that's a clip from the Transformative Self, which is a 6-part video series that is just under 5 hours long in total. So obviously it's quite an in-depth course. It's for someone who generally is interested in kind of learning more about the scientific principles and how they manifest themselves in African spiritual cosmologies. And it's a really fascinating piece of work. With that, obviously, no one is expecting you to watch all 5 hours or whatever at once. It is, you can take each part as you go along, and you can watch it as many times as you wish. So there we go. So it's not rocket science. The computer drains serotonin from the body while we are using it. Stay up on our foods and supplements that give us serotonin. I see. So you're talking in regards to internet usage, and I agree. Gleb says it's absolutely beautiful. Give thanks, Gleb. So yeah, going back to the whole internet usage, I think it's a fascinating one. I think we're going to have to see how that plays out in the future and how we navigate ourselves and utilizing it for its benefits whilst also maintaining our own health and things as well. Obviously, the internet's been out for quite a while. I'm not sure how old it is actually now, but I think for me personally, it's more social media that I've noticed that has been more impactful in terms of my own, I would say, memory, focus, all of those things. It impacts it because I think, especially now where you're coming into like these shorter video clips and that kind of whole swipe mentality, it's just too much information being processed at once. And for me personally, I can see that that overstimulation to my mind is too much. And so now I'm finding a lot more peace in doing things like, going outside, chilling in a park, reading books. I find that a lot more calmer. And in general, we were talking about what type of changes we've noticed in our lives. And I would say one of the things that I've been more conscious of over the last few months is just creating a sense of peace for myself. And I find that the internet and being on social media can disrupt your peace. You may scroll on your timeline, you might have to see something that you don't want to see, and there's all of these things. And I feel like there's just been a push for me to kind of regulate um, my whole, bodily systems to just kind of not be in a state of stress and anxiety. So let me see, there's some comments going in there. So the distraction is being more and more. I completely agree. The distractions right now are at an all-time high. And what I find quite fascinating, and I'm not sure if I already said this, but stuff that, I mentioned to Ricardo that I've noticed that a lot of YouTube channels and things have been shut down or completely shadow banned and things like that. However, things that people were talking about before, which were being shut down, having their whole platforms taken away, now those conversations are happening mainstream, and there's some YouTube channels that are just talking about it openly, naming names, all of these things. So I have to wonder, as I said, my conspiracy hat is tingling. So how is it that a few years ago you couldn't say these kind of things without getting shut down, and now it's just in your face every minute, every single second of the day? So for me, it's like last resort tactics. So something that was once hidden, which is no longer hidden, and now they're putting it in your face because it's like, okay, well, that's how we're going to keep them. That's how we're going to keep them distracted. And even some of these things, especially if we're looking at the fall of Hollywood and so forth and stuff like that happening now, it's like kind of drip feeding information. Like, why not just expose the whole thing, call it a day, and move on? But it's like this drip. So it's like they want people to keep feeding off of this. So I'm very mindful of that, and I'm like, nah. I feel like it's another way to kind of keep us locked and engaged. So yeah, I just feel like the internet right now is a very weird space. So Nature Man says, I have to get this 5-hour class. Love how your husband delivers the teachings. I comprehend to the fullest. Indeed. Give thanks for that, Nature Man. I must say as well, Dalian is actually a professionally qualified teacher. So when he does his lectures, he's fantastic. He's absolutely phenomenal. I've always been blown away by the way he can just like recite information and make it so clear and concise. And I'm like, here I am even trying to remember what I did last week. He'll just be there reeling off facts and information. So he definitely has that gift of a teacher, and I hope you enjoy that series. So also make use of the link. I put the link in the chat. That is actually on a 25% off sale, which ends today. So if you do want to get it, go in there quickly. Okay, so Ricardo says to keep our focus on the wrong things. That's why it's now light. Agreed. This is what I feel, because it's like these people have been talking about these things for years. So why is it now that we're allowed to speak about it? Like, people are having open discourse. And so for me, I'm just like, as much as, I've been on my spiritual journey from 2001, and my spiritual journey started with the whole conspiracy kind of teachings, which got me questioning the world. My personal trigger was 9/11. So, that's going way back now. So for me, it's amazing to actually be alive and witness some of these things taking place, and things getting exposed, and corruption now being outed, which is great. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not what I expected it to be. At the same time, it's kind of bittersweet. It's not like anything to celebrate. I'm very mindful of the fact that I don't feel that this should be something I'm watching. And as I'm speaking, actually, I have to say, December last year, 2023, one of the messages that I received really strongly was the term rubbernecking. So, for those who are not familiar with the term rubbernecking, it refers to when drivers are driving their car and there happens to be an accident on the roadside, and they're there focusing on what's going on, the accident, where they could end up getting in an accident themselves. And that kept coming to me from December last year. And I was going to post about it. I didn't. And I really wish I had now. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I strongly feel in my heart, and I'm just going to share this, is that we should be very mindful of focusing on the wrong things and diverting our attention elsewhere, when everything has always been within ourselves. How we change our outer reality is in here. And I feel that some of these things that we're being drawn down, these little roads and these rabbit holes, are just kind of here to distract us and, take away precious time and energy and essence from nourishing ourselves and doing what we need to do to elevate ourselves out of this madness. So I just had to put that there. Sorry if I went on a bit of a rant. Okay, so Gleb says, because they want to keep us sleeping until 2030. Well, this is it. This is it. I feel like, I think that you can be aware of certain things and then keep it moving. If we now start watching everything and waiting for the next expose and waiting for this, then you've already kind of diverted off track, and now you're following their narrative and not your own. And so that kind of goes back to the message that I've been getting all year, is just like, really be aware of that inner voice rather than everything that's happening outside of yourself. All right. So that actually leads us coming up to the hour. So unless anybody has any questions or comments, or you want to join me in the studio, I'm actually going to start to sign out soon. So I'm just going to put the studio link one more time if anyone does want to join me. But I've actually really enjoyed it. It's been nice to come back to YouTube. It's been a minute. I haven't done a show for, I don't even know how long it is now. So whilst I do have you here, please, if you do want to have us come back to YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, because as I mentioned, we do have a shadow ban, but we would love to start doing videos and content again, because it's fun and it's really nice to be able to interact with you all. We generally do host a lot of other events as well. So I have to say, for those who consider themselves as spiritually sensitive, intuitive, seers, or just those who kind of want to start developing themselves a lot more spiritually, there is an event coming up the 28th of this month called Who Heals the Healer. It's going to be the third one of this series. So obviously it does say Who Heals the Healer. So I'm not saying it's just for healers, but it's for those who kind of resonate with that whole idea of learning to embody their gifts. You may notice that you're becoming a lot more aware of things. Your intuition may be becoming stronger. You may be more perceptive of certain dreams. So it's a space to kind of connect with like mind and have that support network of people around you where we can share stories of each other, experiences, and also help each other with anything we may be experiencing. All right. So Al, thank you, Al. How are you doing?
Oh, hello. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for joining me.
Well, I just stumbled across this channel. I'm subscribed, but hadn't seen it before. So I really don't have a background, but I am always pleased to meet people who are doing the kind of work you're doing that's focusing on our existence, our spirit, our history, and our future, our eternity. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being here, and just applause, applause, applause.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate you joining us. It's amazing that you've never heard of us, and today you've come across us, so that's brilliant. So yes, Ancestral Voices, 14 years deep now of doing this work, connecting us to ancestral wisdom, going across different traditions, and yeah, hopefully, you can actually watch this back from the beginning, check out the rest of the content on the YouTube channel. But yeah, so thanks. So appreciate that, Al.
I will go back. I'm a journalist in Minnesota. I own a community newspaper called Insight News, and we've got a web presence. I do a daily live stream on StreamYard called The Conversation with Al McFarland. And I'd be glad to collab with you to bring you onto my platform to discuss your vision, your work, and the challenges and the opportunities, the successes that you uncover and build every day. And I think that whenever we can talk, I'm interested in the notion of ancestral voices. How do we both intuit it, learn it, develop that knowledge, develop the memory, and then develop the capacity to enjoy the guidance that ancestral voices, that ancestral legacies can support our ability to shape today. And
Fantastic.
in the shaping of the day, we're shaping the future, right?
Definitely.
If we're intentional. And
yeah.
So you're in UK.
That's correct, yeah.
And these beautiful cards in the back of me are from my cousin who's in UK, who is a native of London. And we're Jamaicans, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so my cousin used to send me and my wife these beautiful greeting cards, seasonally, but they were all cards of African women, and they were so beautiful that I framed them and I used them as a background for my regular shows, because they say a lot about the power and the beauty of Blackness and of Black women in particular, the strength.
Fantastic. I so appreciate that. So I would love to come on your platform. And in terms of everything you're asking about what Ancestral Voices is, that's everything that we do. So we're all about informing people of ways that they can start to connect to that deeper memory which exists within themselves. So yes, Al, I look forward to that collaboration. And the fact that you have people in London and their Jamaican heritage, same as me, is it's fantastic. I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Well, so good to meet you, and thank you for bringing me into the show today.
I give thanks for the connection. Thank you very much, Al.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Hi, Francine. Welcome to the studio. How are you?
Hi. I have background noise. Do I have to turn off the other video for the...
It sounds fine for me. Can you hear an echo your side, or because it sounds...
I can hear echo. Hold on a minute. I hope I don't disconnect. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it sounds fine.
Okay. Yeah, I had to turn the other one off. I want to say coming into March, I had this just coming up in my dreams, my meditation. It was this incredible activation that actually revealed a hidden childhood trauma.
Oh, wow.
But when it came back, it was kind of the previous lecture you gave about weird stuff happening to people before they get healed of something.
Yeah.
And it started with this tea tree oil. I accidentally used tea tree oil for something, and I shouldn't have, and it just caused me such incredible pain. It was like through that pain, it just opened up a window for all this memory to come back, and it didn't feel like that at the outer, but I remembered my brain was just so wired. It was like, yeah, it's okay to use this amount of tree oil, and I was like, oh my God, it seemed so rational. But then, and I did remember the lecture you gave about that something might lead you to just you might have this weird experience that may be a part of something else coming up. So I had this flirtation in my last job, and this person was part of that actually something got activated, and it kept coming up in my meditation. I was on the internet. I felt this person's energy come to me, but it was restoring me to my yin and yang were out of balance, and the yang part. So this person represented the restoral of that. I literally felt like he was, and my meditation was, I asked this question, have I really taken in the happy experiences? It's so easy to remember negative things. Have I really absorbed it? So I just gave myself a chance to just give some space for that. And bam, that was like another activation. And I just felt kindness coming from this person. And literally, I just saw them in the space. It was the kindness. They represented kindness. And then it just like hit my spine. And that was when I felt like the restoral of my yang. And now I want to try to recontact this person to apologize because I left my job. I didn't tell him anything. And I felt like that was wrong. I didn't have the right conversation at the time. But now it feels like I believe that's what I'm supposed to do. It's coming up in my dream, in my meditation. It's just everywhere. It even came out of the internet. I was just doing something normal, and the energy just hit me, and I fell in love with this person all over again. And I'm like, how is this possible? I haven't seen this person in 15 years.
Oh, wow.
But it's so strong, and my belief is I'm supposed to reconnect with this person. So I guess my question to you is, but I'm feeling like with other people, when I mention it to other people, it's like, oh, that was the past. That was 15 years ago. But look at what happened with J-Lo and Ben Affleck, you know? So I feel like it's a battle. Not that I believe I'm supposed to make the effort, you know, let the ancestors do the rest, because something is giving me an invitation to go back.
When did you start getting this calling to go back to make that contact?
It was about a month ago now.
A month ago. And you're saying that you're finding that coming up in different places, and it's like this constant reminder.
Yeah, it just keeps showing up. I mean, I'm not doing anything to make it show up. I mean, I'm on the internet minding my own business, doing something, and all of a sudden I feel this person's energy come through the internet. And that was when I got that other, you know, that healing that I told you about, where that childhood trauma injured my yang, and this person, it got restored. I mean, it just came through the internet, and I fell in love with the person all over again. But prior to that, the other part felt ancestral, like something happened back then. I couldn't see it. But once the memory of the childhood trauma was revealed, then I could see what was good for me.
I see.
And I began to see my life in a different way. It's like a lot of things I labeled something else is not that at all.
I see. So that the experience with the tea tree gave you clarity on certain things that before, because it was the unhealed version of you, there's certain things that you may have either pushed aside or it didn't work because you weren't in the right space. Is that correct? And
Yes.
now that you're able to kind of see fully, there's like this calling to kind of go back and rectify what happened in the past.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it may not be a rekindling as such. It could do. I don't know. But I think what you're being called to do is to make that kind of appeasement. So now that you've kind of gone through your own journey and there's a certain level of clarity and understanding, it might just be now explaining to that person, you know, this is what I was going through at this particular point in my life. So there's certain things that weren't clear. And I think it could just be part of, you know, many people spoke about they're going through this kind of purging and cleansing. And it could just be your way of just resolving issues that went on before so you can clear your path moving forward. So as I said, it may not necessarily be a reconciliation. That depends on that person. But I think this is about you just balancing that energy for yourself so they also can understand fully what happened in that situation back then.
Yeah, that was my intention, was to apologize for just disappearing, and explaining that I was going through a whole, like abusive situation on my job. It was just a very traumatic period, and also to thank the person for their kindness.
Yeah. I think that in itself is beautiful, and I think a lot of times we can leave situations unresolved, and it takes a lot of strength and a lot of power to say, do you know what, this is what was going on with me at that time. I'm sorry I didn't explain. But giving that clarity for them allows you both to be able to kind of close that door and walk forward peacefully. So I think it's about you kind of clearing that path.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I don't think he was just an object of the healing that took place. I think he was a real energy, a person, a character that helped complete a very important process for me, that helped me with the trauma. So he's not an object,
Yeah.
When I tell people this, I'm like, wait a minute, this was an actual healing that took place. It was something about me and about him and the attraction of our energies that was a catalyst for an enormous, powerful healing. That it went back to the healing that took place was during associated with the pre-verbal, before I was even verbal, and that's kind of rare. How many of us get a memory that goes back to that, so I can go forward and continue to work on healing that?
Yeah. I think being able to tell someone what you meant to them at that time and how you helped them is very good. So especially if it was left with the door open, that, allowing them to have peace moving forward is important.
Thank you.
All right, no problem. Thank you, Francine. Thank you for joining me. Okay, what's this? So African Spiritual Thought says a very clear message coming through since the eclipse is to be calm, just to be, let go, to achieve balance. I agree. I think that's actually a brilliant message. For me, that has been so strong, so strong. It's just to keep it in here, keep it balanced as much as you can, despite all the chaos that may be going on. It is a test of our strength, our resilience. As I mentioned, I literally saw the night a few days ago or last week. I saw the time yesterday, all reinforcing this kind of message of battle, protection, being ready to fight, strategy. And I think it's about literally using all of our resources within ourselves, tapping into those spiritual tools, tapping into our ancestors, our spiritual guides, making the use of our natural environment, nature. Nature is our greatest friend, our greatest teacher, our greatest supporter and healer, and really reinforcing our relationship with those elements to ground ourselves, because it is intense out there, but we have to just keep strong and keep that strength going. So I just want to give thanks. King Shabib says a lot of energy is out right now, people being going wild indeed. And that's why I say, like, leaning into our spirituality is so important. So just to say again, if anyone does want to connect into the next space that we're holding, that's going to be on the 28th of April, which is Who Heals the Healer, where it's a space where we can all kind of gather together, talk about our experiences, whether it's dreams or spiritual sightings, what you've been experiencing yourself, any changes that you've noticed. It's a space where we can all connect together and just share, what practices we do, what helps us, and how we navigate through this time. So I just want to give thanks to everybody. It's been a beautiful conversation. I want to give thanks for everyone who joined the studio and spoke to me. And I just want to give thanks to everybody who just participated in the conversation and tuned in. I truly appreciate it. So as I said, we do hope to make more videos for Ancestral Voices on YouTube. So please like, comment, subscribe, forward to anyone else who you also may think may enjoy our channel and our content. And we will start to try and make some more over the next few months. So give thanks, family, and I hope to see you all again soon. All right, take care. All right. Give thanks. Give thanks. Ah, okay. Give thanks. So, yeah. So King Shabib says, where will it be taking place? So, yes, this is a good question. So, Who Heals the Healer? It will be an event that is held via Google Meet. That way, because obviously YouTube, there's only so much you can really do on YouTube, but Google Meet, we can all be in the same space together, and it allows everyone to be able to speak freely. So that'll be a Google Meet event, and it's currently advertised on our Ancestral Voices website, which is scrolling across the screen now, and you can access that on the event page. Francine says, giving thanks to everyone, sending healthy energy in this space. Wonderful when community comes together for good purpose. We give thanks, Francine, and thank you. And yeah, it's been lovely to come back to YouTube after such a long time. So hope to see you all again soon, and have a wonderful week ahead. And hang in there with these eclipse energies, hopefully we can all just connect and start grounding in our own ways. And for those of us who are not accessing the sun at the moment, may we continue to find ways to keep peace, balance, and grounding. So give thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.